How you going, guys? Welcome back to Walk It Off. I'm Nathan, and today's going to be a little bit different. It's another one of the hashtag read this book reviews, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this one right here. It's called Chatter, and it's by a bloke named Ethan Kross, and I found it really hit home for me in regards to my depression. Now, I didn't read this book until pretty late in the game when it comes to my depression, but it really, what he speaks about, what this book speaks about really encapsulated what was happening with my depression. Now, I used to get really intrusive negative thoughts, and they would trigger essentially a negative feedback loop where each negative thought set the stage for the next one to become that much worse, and it just very quickly spirals out of control. And it took me a long time to get that type of thing back under control, and as you can imagine, it wasn't quite pleasant. Okay, so Dr. Kross speaks about his work in the similarity between emotional pain and physical pain and how the brain processes them in the same area. And so he is a psychologist, a clinical psychologist by trade, and the area of focus that his work covers is the connection between emotional pain and physical pain, and how it is the same part of the human brain that processes those two different phenomena. He also speaks about how prolonged exposure to stressful situations then change the chemical composition of the brain that make the intrusive negative thoughts that much more prevalent and that much worse. Everyone has a phenomenon in their mind called rumination, and it's basically the thought process of how could have I approached this situation differently when thinking about a past event. And it's very self-deluded because you couldn't have done it any other way. Sam Harris talks about how we only have the illusion of free will, and that if you could wind the clock back far enough, you would be able to predict these events, so to speak. But yes, in Chatter, Ethan talks about how these uncontrollable thought spirals are triggered by one event, and how if you can learn to meditate and quiet your brain, you can kind of detach from them and examine them as an external process. So you're looking at them from like a window looking in kind of thing. So Ethan also talks about how social media has really disrupted these mental processes, and how interhuman communication has irrecoverably been, I'm not sure if I said that right, but has been forever altered by social media and the way that we interact. And you're much more prone to comparison with social media and the negative feelings that come along with, almost like jealous feelings and things like that, because you're seeing a curated version of another person's life. And there's some strong feelings of jealousy and the inability to live up to other people's curated feed, when really you're not seeing any of the bad parts in it, and that can destabilize us quite easily. Now, there's an old saying that goes along the lines of time heals all wounds, and that's another thing, that temporal distance and just getting away from bad situations, and how well that can help cure the rumination and constant mental feedback loops that you get in depression. So I know my personal situation in regards to my own depression was almost like it's almost like he was describing my own situation, in which I kind of derailed my own career due to a lot of the negative thoughts that were going on in my head at the time. And design, what I do for a living is graphic design and illustration and things like that. And it's a very, you've got to be having your cognitive abilities working at their fullest when you're designing for clients, because you've got to kind of think on the fly. It's a very fast-paced problem solving. And as you can imagine, if you're getting all these constant negative thoughts and negative feedback loops happening inside your brain, it's very, very hard to concentrate and get into a solid flow of work. One of the ways of countering this that Ethan talks about in the book is to say your own name out loud, because when you hear your own name, you're kind of jolted back into focusing right on what's in front of you. So one of the main reasons why we're having trouble with social media at the moment is because it gives us this weird cathartic release, like we are actually talking to someone in person, and because you're venting to someone through a screen, you're not getting the feedback that you would have in a proper conversation, and the little tiny physical cues that somebody gives you to their emotional state inside their face and things like that. And because we're not getting that feedback loop, it's like venting and you're getting the cathartic release, but without the dismantling of the other the other person can help you break apart these concepts and ideas that you've just gone through and kind of help you get to the other side of them. And yeah, when we're really not getting that when it comes to social media, and large parts of our lives are now lived on social media. Another thing that Ethan talks about is how green spaces can help us break negative feedback loops. And I know very well from personal experience, and the whole idea of my YouTube channel has been that core concept, that getting out into forested areas and hiking and getting a decent amount of exercise while being exposed to Mother Nature has really, really, really helped me. I believe it's got something to do with our evolutionary heritage from swinging from tree to trees. We evolved out of that, and therefore we have this very visceral connection to it. So I can understand completely why it would help our mental health patterns. So I've waffled on for long enough. I think this is a really, really good book, and you should read it. Now, I've got a copy to give away to the first person to recommend me a mental health book that I haven't read yet. Down in the comments, first in, best dressed, guys. Recommend me something and I'll do another review of it. Until next time, get this into you. It will really help you out. Go outside, get better, be awesome. See you next time, guys.